Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. Curry, one-on-one, Irving puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown. The three, steps back, crossover, puts up a three. Rebound James, second. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
Cleveland! This is for you!
What's going on, Cavs fans? I'm Skylar Webker. He's Tim Daniel. And welcome to another edition of The Block, The Shot, The Stop, the Cleveland Cavaliers podcast brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network. And Tim, it felt good to get a win.
Yeah,
After
man.
Getting dealt an ass kicking from the Thunder before, it felt good to get a win.
Yeah, it's a nice bounce back win, especially considering Minnesota played so well the night before against the Knicks to kind of at the Garden and had to come back. So, yeah, this was a nice bounce back. This is a much needed bounce back after Kevin and I kind of aired our issues and frustrations in the previous episode, just how things went that night. It was nice to kind of see them have this game and put it behind them, especially considering they didn't have Mobley or Okoro tonight.
Yeah, when they said that Mobley wasn't going to play, you're like, ooh, Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert. It's nice to have your two bigs go against those guys. But the Cavs held their own. Jared Allen had a great game. He really, really deserves to be higher than 10th on the All-Star voting. So everybody go get your votes in.
Do it.
But outside of Jared Allen, looked like Donovan Mitchell is finally back in his rhythm, shooting well again. Darius Garland just continues his all-star, all NBA caliber season. And it just felt like we got back to Cavs basketball.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily a Cavaliers night. It had its moments, but we weren't kind of had to have it go to that point. But it certainly felt like you mentioned those two, obviously Mitchell and Garland. But Ty Jerome had a really nice game again. Shout out TJ Maxx for stepping up there as well. It's been a little bit since we kind of seen him have one of those. I thought George was great. I know that Karras ended up getting the start in place of Mobley, but I thought he was good. Dean Wade, throwing hammers again, like he did in the first quarter. That was nice to see. So yeah, it certainly felt like it was back to Cavs basketball. You kind of saw a shorter rotation tonight without those two guys that we're kind of really used to, and still a night where, once again, Jared Allen only plays 35 minutes. That's the max amount of minutes anyone played in a game last night for the Cavaliers. But two big scores off the bench, another great Donovan Mitchell game, just all around. So yeah, man, it's a lot to be excited about. Yeah,
you felt nervous without Mobley in the game. Like I said, he has been the guy that Kenny's runs the offense kind of through and for. So did not have him in the game against, like I said before, Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert. You felt probably how the Thunder felt that first game with only Hartenstein against our two bigs.
That it was definitely something where like you kind of are feeling that vibe for sure. It's like, oh man, because I had actually put a bet in for Mobley, and then like when before the news had come out this afternoon, I'd put it in for him because it's like, well, we got to get back on a roll in the bets as well. We're on a little bit of a streak, and then as I'm putting my daughter down for the night, I see that I got a refund on that. So thanks for that. I appreciate it, Fanatics. But yeah, just a really nice night for Jared Allen to kind of take advantage of that. Rudy Gobert was really good tonight too, in big stretches, especially shockingly had a lot of nice offensive moments. So this was a nice night. This was much needed on their end as well. So yeah, man, I think Jared Allen, like you said earlier, 10th in All-Star voting. Let's get that bounced up a little bit more. I think we have a couple days left, of voting, because I think starters get announced on the 23rd. So that would be Thursday.
Don't they also do more than just fan voting though? Because I thought they did like league voting also.
Yeah, and that'll I think fans strictly vote the starters, but if I remember correctly. I don't know. They've changed it around so many times now. It's hard to figure out. Like,
I know. I don't even know how many All-Stars get in this year because it's East and West, and then like a 4-team bracket playoff style this year.
It's dumb. Yeah.
I mean, I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to not let the All-Star game become the Pro Bowl, but
we're like way past that. We're way past that.
You mean you still enjoy watching those guys play flag football?
I wouldn't say I enjoy it, but it's about where we're at right now in this whole thing.
But yeah, I guess back to Cavs. We are at the midpoint of the season, exactly 41 games in. To be 35-6 is, I mean, obviously better than we would have expected in the preseason or coming into the season. Probably I would have had them pegged at 15, 16 losses right now. But man, 35-6. Woo!
35-6 is awesome. I mean, obviously it's unbelievable. You're on a 70-win pace. That's getting the job done, obviously. But I think the biggest thing to me, Skylar, is that 6.5 up on the Celtics right now up in the Eastern Conference.
They lost tonight too.
Yeah, they lost to Atlanta tonight. And then you're also 9 games up on the Knicks. So you're sitting pretty right now in that case. I think that really jumps out a little bit more to be at the halfway mark and have that much of an advantage on the conference, to have home court advantage where everything goes through you. You know, you got to go to Cleveland to win the East. And so that's probably where you want to be. I mean, that's definitely where you want to be. Obviously, it's a Cavs fan, but that 35-6, that 70-win pace certainly makes it even sweeter.
Did you get your bet in the over at the start of the season on their win total?
I'll be honest, no, I didn't. I should have. I know Kevin has been pretty well known. He's mentioned a couple of times. He bet the Cavs to win the Central before the season started, and obviously he's gonna probably run away with that, considering Milwaukee is second in the Central. It's a 12-game gap, just about. But yeah, with half the season to go. But I think the only thing I did make sure, like I put in for Evan Mobley for most improved player, and I do still feel good about that, even though we've had our conversations about that many of times. But you know, if they honor what the award's supposed to be, then he's for sure the winner. Will they? We'll see, but they should.
They should. I agree, but they won't. I mean, it's just like defensive player of the year. Somebody came out and said that on some podcast earlier this week that like they should do 2 defensive player of the years. Yeah. Because they pretty much go just off blocks. And if you're a guard, you're not really at an opportunity to get blocks as you are as a big.
Yeah, I don't hate that idea. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely been those guys. Like I think Mikal Bridges had a great case one year in Phoenix to be defensive player of the year and didn't get it. And I think that, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be against it. I understand the point of it. But you know, the good news is it doesn't look like Rudy Gobert is going to win it this year. So we'll kind of we'll go with that.
You mean he won't get his 5th?
Yeah. You shouldn't have 2 of those that he has. So.
Well, I mean, what would you say if the NBA came out and did like what MLB does and they have a set of awards for each division?
I'll be honest. I've kind of at the point where I don't think that's necessary in baseball anymore because everyone plays each other.
That's true. Now that it's they play every team every season.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I see that. I do think it helps decloud the big markets in the sense of, you know, your big markets in both leagues are out west with LA and all the California teams, and then you're really only against Boston and New York in the East. So I think it helps shed some light on small market teams like Cleveland.
Yeah, it does. But you know, I don't think an Eastern Conference MVP and a Western Conference MVP is necessarily a thing we have to have at this point, or like an Eastern Conference Rookie of the Year, Western Conference Rookie of the Year. I think that's just probably a little too much. I'm fine with things the way they are there, but there is ways we can definitely honor players better than just looking at your blocks per game and stuff like that. So,
yeah, I mean, I would agree. But I don't know, just fun idea, I guess, to see like I said, I mean, it's kind of nice in baseball because it does spread out beyond the big markets, but outside of that, and like you said, now that they play each other all the time, might not be a need for it anymore.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's probably me on my soapbox, and someone who has a baseball show as well, probably just kind of speaking from my heart there. So,
I'm surprised you're not wearing Notre Dame hoodie, by the way.
did I tell you the story about that?
Yeah, the A fell off.
Yeah. So I got to save it for Monday. I did get Iris her gear though. It came in, and I'm very excited.
Nice.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Shane Gillis Under Armour commercial?
I did. Just saw it. It was pretty funny. I actually put it on my Instagram story. Yeah, that was awesome. It's basically how I feel. So actually, funny enough, he's in Cincinnati tonight.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's at the arena.
That's funny.
Yeah.
All right, we should probably get back to Cavs. We're going to talk about so many other things. Big piece of Cav news that came out kind of this week is that the Cavs at first came out saying that they are hesitant to trade. They don't want to trade because they locker room chemistry. Then they got handed an ass whooping from the Thunder. And now the latest news is that they are hot pursuers on the Cam Johnson Brooklyn pursuit. What are your feelings on, I guess, that or how we quickly went from, no, we're not doing anything, we don't want to do anything, to we need to get the top guy on the market?
I'll tell you what, man. If that's the guy they can get, then I want him. I think he'd be an absolute perfect fit for this team. We've had this like hodgepodge of, we all love Dean Wade. We love Karis LeVert. But we've had kind of this rotating door there at that spot. And he certainly takes care of that. I mean, he's obviously one of the best shooters in the league. Has had a really great career as far as a shooter. Is playing on a team that really doesn't necessarily need him and can take advantage of that to get there. But my question generally is like, yeah, I would love to have Cam Johnson. And I think that if you go for him, he'd be an absolutely perfect fit for the Cavs. But what are you giving up at this point? Because I do agree, like with what Kevin said the other night after the Thunder game, there are, how far can you necessarily get on chemistry? And this team has played really well in the chemistry situation. But here it's like, okay, where you're missing, and you're missing that big 3-and-D wing who can go out there and guard those guys who have beaten you so far this year. And Cam Johnson certainly takes care of that. So if there's a way you can get him, awesome. There's parts of me that would kind of be bummed because you're going to lose a guy you really love. Like, George Niang's probably going to be mentioned in that conversation. Sam Merrill will be mentioned in that conversation. I don't know if Max Strus is someone that'll come up. I can imagine he would. But I don't have anything set in stone to say that right now. But, yeah, go get him if you can. But it's going to suck that you're going to lose someone you're really excited about.
Yeah, I think it was realcavsfans.com. They posted on X kind of the realistic ways to get the deal done. In all likelihood, they probably need to get a third team involved, just because the Cavs don't have they have the players and the salaries to make it work, but they don't have some of the draft capital assets to offer to offer Brooklyn probably quite what they need. But circling back to what we talked about with Real Cavs fans when we had them on our NBA Weekly, the hot ticket is not an expiring contract anymore. Teams want lengthy control on guys because of the aprons and the taxes and stuff like that. They want to be able to have long-term control over things. So that's why people like Max Strus might come up, like Niang and Merrill, who have more control beyond next season. And you might, I don't want to say left with, because Karis LeVert, like, you're definitely not getting left with the guy. Like, he's a very valuable piece of this team. But teams would be less interested in Karis LeVert because he's a free agent at the end of the year.
I don't know, man. It seems like Brooklyn's doing this thing where they got D'Lo back. Maybe they want Karras back. Maybe they get their whole band back together over there. D'Lo
Minus Jared Allen.
yeah, minus Jared Allen. He stays here. Obviously, ideally, I'd like for Karras to stay here as well, but I understand the circumstance. So yeah, who knows, man? Maybe Karras LeVert goes and hangs out in Brooklyn again. He seems to he had a nice run there. So I hope not. I don't want to continue to trade anybody. But you have to trade something to get somebody, right? And like you said, the draft capital conversation, the salary conversation, obviously, however all that lines up. This is kind of the era now with the second apron of just kind of trying to build a roster and keep it together in the sense of, you're probably not going to have those dynasty runs anymore. I mean, the Celtics are the closest thing to it, and they're not playing the way a lot of people thought the Celtics were playing, would be playing. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how it all breaks down. So, yeah, I'm all team get Cam Johnson if you can, and see how it happens.
Yeah, like I mentioned with our NBA Weekly with real Cavs fans, and to anybody that hasn't listened, go back and listen to that one, because we got into the weeds about the salaries, the luxury tax, and kind of the things like that. The way that the NBA is structuring it is to kind of avoid the 2015 or the 2016 Warriors, who are already a 71 win team, going and getting Kevin Durant.
Right.
So it's built like that to prevent that. So the way that teams are now approaching this is very much like baseball. Like, they're trying to get long-term control, trying to use the G League as a farm system to get guys up and have that, almost like the arbitration years where you get them on the cheap, and then before they hit the market type of deal. So that's kind of the way that the league is trying to structure, I guess, all of the financial situations. And I'm okay with. I think that's how you get guys like Craig Porter, Dean Wade, Max Strus, even, because he was an undrafted guy. I feel like you just get more opportunities and more. You get to kind of see some of these young guys that get drafted, and I don't want to say fizzle out, but that traditionally, a lot of guys would fizzle out before they even saw any time on the floor. And I think this new system prevents that.
Yeah, you get more out of your money. Your money goes further in this case with the new system. And it's a little confusing at first to kind of get a general understanding of how it all breaks down, but once you kind of do get the feel for it, it all lines up pretty well. And so I think the Cavs are set up really, really nice in this case. And like you mentioned, it's a great way to kind of find your Max Struses, your Sam Merrills, Sam Merrill was drafted, but it was very, very late.
Last pick, wasn't he?
Yeah, very last pick, and won a title. So
yeah, with the Bucks.
Yeah. And so you kind of bank more on those guys. Like, your second round picks mean a whole lot more now. And the Cavs have two of those so happen in this draft coming up. So it's a lot to be excited about. It takes a little bit to get comfortable with, but once you understand and you see how the Cavs are lined up, things are looking pretty good there at Rocket Mortgage.
Yeah, they're lined up for success. I mean, I know we give Colby our flowers all the time, but I mean, he really, really could not have pieced this team together any better while still having the future intact. It's not like the days of, when LeBron was here, where you sold off everything that wasn't bolted onto the floor to build a big three around him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's just a lot of like repaying for what happened when you had the first round and you went and got all these aging vets that weren't great contracts, and your Antoine Jamesons, your Ben Wallaces, your Shaqs, your players like that. I think I wouldn't necessarily put Mo Williams in that conversation because Mo was really good in that first run. But you can certainly go down the list of guys that was like, I don't know if that was necessarily the best pick to get, and it was just a lot of trying to make him happy and try to make a run at it.
For sure. So big fan of the new system, big fan of how Kobe has put this team together and without, selling off everything. In the words of our least favorite front office person, he eliminated the peaks and valleys.
Yeah, I mean they don't have a first round pick for a little bit. I think not just this year, but I think next year as well, because Utah gets it in the Mitchell trade. But like I said, I mean those 2 second round picks are going to come probably pretty valuable.
Absolutely.
So whether that's they keep those guys or they move them, you look right now between the G League team and the current roster, it's a lot of Cavs draft picks. So, guys like Imani Bates was a second round pick. So yeah, there's a lot there that you can kind of make out of this. And so there's definitely a possibility if they want to try to get something to happen, they can package those picks. They can move one of those picks. Because right now one of them is the very last pick in the draft. And then one's like the mid 40s, I want to say. So yeah, man. I mean, those picks are becoming more valuable now with this new system for sure.
And don't they have? I'm trying to like remember how the trade went because they essentially gave up 3 first round picks and then 2 pick swaps. So when's that second pick swap?
I can't remember, but I also think that is it this year? They're done. I mean, there's so many trades. I'd have to look it all up. But I think this is the last of the Karras Indiana deal as well. So I think we're finally paid off there as well. So I don't know, man. There's a lot. Shout out Kobe Altman because he made it all work.
So we sent the 2025 pick. We have our pick next year, or it's a pick swap next year. Send out 2027, have a pick swap in 28, send out 2029. So kind of alternating years. But we can't trade those picks.
Right. Yeah.
Which I like. I mean, so essentially you gave up 3 first round picks for Donovan Mitchell and then extended him. So
yeah, I think
worth it.
I think I'm willing to say every year that Donovan Mitchell was the best first round pick for the Cavs. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we go too much further, I did want to call out that Dan Gilbert is being honored with the Lifetime Sports Achievement Award.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Which, good for him. I think he either continues to get or has gotten a lot of hate since the first departure of LeBron.
The Comic Sans letter.
The Comic Sans letter, which was the goofiest thing ever.
What do you mean? I thought it was awesome. Like if you go back and if you go back and read it, it's like obviously LeBron coming back and wins the title makes it a little better. But I appreciate that he spoke like a true fan in the letter there. And so I'll forever love it.
Yeah. I really don't have a dog in the fight. But it was eons ago.
Yeah.
But since then, I mean, he is one of the better owners in sports.
Sure.
He is not afraid to spend. Him and the Cavs and his whole Rocket
I can't remember the
group, whatever it is. They do a lot for Cleveland. They do a lot of philanthropy work, both in Cleveland and in Detroit, where Rocket is based. And just they put a ton of money into the renovation for the Q, where you look at the other end, what the Browns are doing and threatening to leave and stuff like that. I mean,
the city's suing the Browns and
the city is trying to acquire the Browns from the Haslams. And we don't have that. Like Dan Gilbert put up a ton of money to keep the stadium nice and updated and the whole glass facade. So shouts out to Dan Gilbert for his Lifetime Achievement Award. Well earned. Has our respect on this show for sure.
Oh yeah, you and I did that lengthy conversation a few months ago about the fact they're trying to bring the Rockers back and and obviously he spearheaded that as well. So there'll be no slander of Dan Gilbert on this show. I do laugh at the Comic Sans letter, and I will forever laugh at the Comic Sans letter. But other than that, he's our guy, so I think it's well deserving. And by the way, we barely talked about the game tonight.
I know and this is what happens when you get like midnight us.
Yeah.
We can go back to the game.
Dad's talking Cavs here, right? So
Yeah, Dad's drinking beers and talking Cavs.
Oh no, I haven't had one of those in a bit, but
That's the only way I was able to stay up this late. All right, we can go. We can go to the game. Who do you want to start with? I'll let you pick.
well, let's just go. We'll go quickly here. Mitchell, obviously, we've kind of gotten to. Just had another great game. His 35, 8, and 7. I thought he was great. Garland tonight, another 29, 5, and 6. Absolutely tremendous. What he's been able to do. Where, like I said, like in the OKC game, when everything didn't go right, he was the one guy who seemed like he was really okay with the way the game was going. And then, so you want to kind of just knock those two out, and we'll go to Phoenix from there.
Yeah, I thought I'll start with Garland. I thought he had a great offensive game. They were hunting him on the defensive end. That's why his plus minus is on -14. And it's difficult when you get switched on to Ant Edwards, who will drive as hard as he can to the rim.
I feel like he didn't miss in the first quarter. Oh my God.
Did you see where he met Jared Allen at the rim?
Yeah.
So good shooting night from Darius. Still the assist numbers stay great. Donovan Mitchell, same thing. Great shooting night, especially after a couple of not hitting in rhythm games. So it was great to see him come out with a 36-point game with 7 assists, which, whew.
8 rebounds. Got back to doing the thing I love about Donovan Mitchell.
Chasing down the long rebound.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And it comes through so much for this team.
You could tell that he knew how to play against Rudy Gobert.
Yep.
Like you could tell he knew all of Rudy Gobert's holes, knew how to when to double team onto him. And Rudy Gobert still had a great night. But Donovan Mitchell was definitely pestering him quite a bit.
He was, man. He was really, really just kind of taking advantage of that as well. And you need to see that for sure. I mentioned the Dean Wade dunk. I feel like, Dean Wade had a fine game, don't get me wrong. But the dunk was pretty awesome. And even you heard Austin Carr in commentary kind of like not taking it back, but he's like, you see, like, he's like, you in the replay, he kind of says something that's really funny. You see like all the Minnesota defenders like kind of pointing at you like, which one you had him? And that certainly came through there as well. So that was awesome. I thought Dean was really good. I know 8, 5, and 2 isn't anything that's going to make people like jump out of the gym by any means. And I know, like you said, that his plus minus wasn't great, but I think he served his purpose in this game. I mean, he kind of was the Julius Randle assignment quite a bit. So that's not necessarily an easy one, especially offensively. And Randle certainly had a nice game in your triple double. But when they needed Dean Wade to step up, he came through.
I agree. The other guy that had a really nice game tonight, and you love to see it, is Ty Jerome. I mean, woo! 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 15 points, plus 28, leading the Cavs in plus minus tonight.
This was probably a much needed game for him to kind of get. I wouldn't say he lost his confidence by any means, because that would be insulting. But it felt like he kind of had his swagger back when he was out there. He was driving to the rim. He was taking people off the dribble. He was putting the ball on the deck. This is the TJ Maxx that we were all excited about. And so seeing him kind of do this again was pretty awesome.
Yeah. I like I said, at the beginning of the season, the Cavs signed him. They signed him last year, and they probably looked at his contract this year and said, we can offload this at some point. Now I don't think you can, because I think you're getting the best bargain in the league when he plays like this.
Yeah, and I know we've talked about this many of times with people who are like, well, they're just going to lose him in the offseason anyway. Offseason is the offseason. We'll deal with that then. What we're getting from him right now is pretty awesome. So let's enjoy it.
Yeah, and like I said, just a good win against a good team. I mean, the Timberwolves started off their season shaky, and me and Zach covered this with the Pacers. Not every team starts off 15-0. Like, teams take a minute to get their rhythm. Like, we are the anomaly on the season, not everybody else.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good point when you said that on that episode. So I thought that was really well done. Yeah, I mean, they're obviously an awesome defensive team. They're in the top 10 in the league for a reason. Offensively, they certainly normally struggle, though they had a pretty good night offensively tonight. So, and Edwards is obviously unbelievable and played 41 minutes tonight at 28 points. And so you kind of see those nights and you kind of just tip your hat to him. But it almost was kind of one of those nights where it felt like it was like, all right, he's just going to get his and let's just try to see what we can do with everyone else. So,
yeah, and it's great to see, going against the Pacers. They were an Eastern Conference Finals team. Then going against the Thunder, who are probably a Finals team this year.
Yeah.
And then the Timberwolves, who were the Western Conference Finals team last year. So, we're not out there playing scrubs. Like these are teams built to go the distance.
Yeah, and you have a Phoenix team on Monday who is obviously very, very good. Well, I shouldn't say very, very good. Should be much better than they are. But just got a nice win in Detroit against the Pistons. Are having a nice road trip so far. So that's going to be a matchup that's going to be really, really fun to watch.
I don't understand what they're doing.
No one does.
Phoenix. Like, they're purposely trying to blow their team up to get Jimmy Butler, who will just blow the team, self-destruct the team.
Yeah, and I mean, not to kind of get down that tangent, I mean, but if you're Miami, why do you want Bradley Beal? Why would you want to bring him in? I don't think he makes any sense for you. Miami just can't accept being mediocre, and so they're going to do whatever they can to not be. But I think this is probably the time, especially in this draft, just take it in. Take it in.
Yeah.
You're Miami. You're never going to be down long. Pat Riley needs to probably just cut ties there with Jimmy and then not go after a really terrible contract.
Yeah, and Bradley Beal has a full no trade clause. Him and LeBron are the only two players that have full no trade clauses.
Yeah, that's Washington being dumb, and anyone.
Is
taking that's the deal with that. So, have fun with that. I know Phoenix got a nice one tonight in Detroit. Like I said, Durant and Booker were awesome. They were both awesome. So curious. It's Monday afternoon. So I love that. Love those 3:00 games much better than I love these 9:00 games for us East Coast people. That's gonna be a fun matchup. I think that I thought this Phoenix team would be better, man. I thought when they got Tyus Jones, I thought they were gonna be that was the piece they were missing. And apparently there's a lot of pieces they're missing.
Well, yeah, there are a ton of pieces that they're missing, but yeah, they're just kind of a weird team to me, honestly.
They don't make any sense.
They really don't. And then they just want to add more nonsense to it. But I mean, yeah, they feel like to me a better Brooklyn when Brooklyn had KD, Kyrie, and Harden.
Noticing a trend here.
Yeah, there's one common denominator in those two things.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just feels weird. And maybe I don't know. Maybe it's Kevin Durant, who's a great player, a whole surefire first ballot Hall of Fame player.
Oh, one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah. So I don't know. He's also kind of a weird guy.
I'll say history says that if you have Kevin Durant on your team, your player morale eventually kind of crashes. So
I don't know. He's just a weird standoffish kind of guy.
Yeah, I don't know, man. He's a different cat for sure.
But we can leave it there. Hoping for another Cavs win. Keep this thing rolling. Keep the second half looking as good as the first half. Keep that number one seed. Wire to wire, baby. I'm still on it.
And get our guys in the All-Star game. Let's do it.
Yes, absolutely get our guys in the All-Star game. Keep voting. I don't know when it ends. Just do it every day.
Right.
So for that, he's Tim Daniels. I'm Skylar Wepker.
You did it
Everyone's
again.
just out there somewhere.
You did it again.
I did do it again. Damn it. He's Tim Daniel. There's no S on the end of his name. He's Tim Daniel. I'm Skylar Wepker. For Kevin Lynch. Please, before I go, please subscribe to our YouTube, your podcast app of choice. We're on everything. It really helps show our support. We love comments. We love interacting with you guys. We'll have some giveaways here soon. So make sure you subscribe to that stuff and stay notified. So with that, we'll go ahead and get out of here. Tim?
Go Cavs.